We are live. This is the market update. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year. I'm back. Everybody's okay. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Will you get another dip? Yes. How big? Probably not as big as you would like. What will outperform when the market turns? My guess is altcoins. Is Michael Saylor out of his mind? No. He's doing what made George Soros famous back in the mid-'80s when he saw a huge trend in currencies. And when everybody thought enough was enough, he kept going, as in Soros. Now, Michael Saylor doing the same thing. In other words, he was able to buy a truckload of Bitcoin at 100. Market makers were able to reload their inventory on the decline. And he's going to turn around and do it again. And you know what? He's going to keep doing it. And I realize you can get a lot of engagement on Twitter by saying that this is FTX part 2 and he's going to eventually lose. And you know what? I disagree. There have been players like guys buying Web 2, the Magnificent Seven, and then there's all these stories that go back to the 80s. And then there are other stories about how Bitcoin and AI are lumped together in kind of a sort of newfound human prosperity, right? In other words, there's a lot of reasons why we're here, a lot of negative economic headlines that point to lower reasons and reasons why we need a better currency. But what I often forget as we do the fireside chat style here at year end is that one of the reasons for getting a better currency is so you can actually have real prosperity. And, if you think that the administration is not going to do what they said they were going to do, they're going to do it, right? Like, for example, we had the Doge guys get themselves in a little bit of hot water talking about, I don't know, let's just say, what kind of workers we should hire in this country. And believe it or not, Elon's own platform got kind of used against him. And then, the orange man turned around and was very supportive of all things American. Not surprising. But it was amazing watching the Eagle King send me the tweets and how fast that escalated up to a statement by the orange man that, hey, we're going to do this made in the USA. They're going to want made in the USA. They're going to want the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Because I think Michael Saylor, when he's making this huge bet, like another huge bet going for 10 billion. So what do you think he knows? Like all of a sudden, thin holiday market. Oh, let's do 10 billion. He could have done 10 billion at 100K the first time, I think. But let's do another 10 billion. He knows that they're doing the strategic Bitcoin reserves. He knows. And if he doesn't get his Bitcoin now, like he's not big enough to race BlackRock and Uncle Sugar for all the world's Bitcoin. And a lot of people will, talk about various FUD or various reasons why he's unhinged from a risk management point of view. Okay. They did a lot of these things with a lot of these hedge funds. And when you have conviction, any big hedge fund trader will tell you, if you have conviction on a trade and it happens to be working, the way you would get in trouble is not by losing money, although obviously losing money is bad. But you could actually get in more trouble if you had a high conviction view and you had a position, but it wasn't big enough. In other words, if you're really convicted, you should have a huge position. And that's what Michael Saylor's doing. And I think, believe it or not, if you get a sideways holiday market, a choppy holiday market, you get some kind of down trade at the end of the year off, I don't know, whatever weirdness is out there. In other words, if you get basically another stop fishing exercise as they hunt for your crypto. Okay, this is an opportunity for you to ask yourself, hey, what do I have conviction in? Is my position big enough? Like, you don't ask these things when it's like, mooning on God candle days. You ask them when the market is down, flat, boring, discouraging. I mean, there was like a Christmas Eve rally, of course, because nobody was paying attention. And then it kind of unwinds itself, right? So it's frustrating. Like, people were really upset, then they were euphoric. Now it's back to neutral. How about we don't get upset or get depressed or get euphoric? Is my position big enough? Can I take a page out of Michael Saylor's book, right? How do you become the next George Soros minus, some of the strange political actions? Conviction, right? Conviction and position size with appropriate risk management. Okay. That doesn't mean the rent money in a $1 million meme coin. Okay. Let's welcome who's here, and then we'll go to the news. So Ian, first on the stream early. D-Sun, Brandon, Andy, Arendam, SGSG, welcome. Shelly, happy holidays to you. Question of the day, are we going to pull back more? You may have one more, man. You may have one more at the end of the year. Stefan, Warmon, Zav, hello. 1 billion more XRP token release in January 2025. Be interesting to see who buys them. Somebody might buy them all. Thomas, Habate, Benjamin, welcome. Right on. Manu, JJ, hello. So Saylor wants to control all the Bitcoin at any price to control Web3. No, not exactly. I think if he wanted to control Web3, he would be doing more things with Bitcoin, which I think is why he wanted to bring Microsoft into the fold. Michael Saylor wants to make sure that he gets all the Bitcoin before everyone figures out it's going to 7 figures. And the reason it's going to 7 figures has to do with basic economics, which we'll talk about. Which it's the why are we here? But I want to start bending why are we here into this prosperity angle, because that's what he's trying to do, right? He's actually trying to make sure, believe it or not, I think that obviously him and MicroStrategy shareholders are okay, and probably their employees too. But I actually believe that he may think that if he buys up all the Bitcoin, that when he's gone, that Bitcoin may wind up being used as universal basic income for humanity. Now, is that a massive delusion? Is he delusional? He's on TV enough where people can poke holes in his argument. I don't think he wants to control Web3, but I do think his behavior and his activity, if he winds up being right and he winds up bringing governments and corporations with him, that could change the world, because 250K Bitcoin ignites Web3. Like, ETH is already kind of woke up. We haven't even heard from Solana yet. I think Solana is more than just meme coins. And I think Solana at 180 something, frankly, is a joke. This is just like meme coin repositioning and puking whatever people are doing with meme coins at the end of the year. When they're done doing it, January 1, I think it's going to be a whole new day in Solana, to be honest. Right. Okay. So let's take a crack at some news. So 37 trillion, here we come. Right. Federal debt outstanding. The Treasury drew down its cash balances by 58 billion last week. This won't stop. And the orange man coming in on day one won't stop it. And I do think it's interesting that, his Doge guys, who I continue to count on for government spending cuts, just put their foot in their mouth. Okay. About tech workers. Cannot owe this amount of money without changing the value of the currency. And since the dollar cannot fall versus any other fiat currency, there's only two ways to do it: crypto and gold. There's only two ways to do it. Like when you have a number like this is like 37 trillion. When you have a number like this, it has to happen. Okay. So the Fed is still shelling out $457 million a day in interest. So the Fed raises rates. Wall Street takes their money. They deposit it at the Fed. They collect 4%. The Fed's a big bank, right? So they're shelling out $457 million a day in, you can call it Wall Street welfare. Okay. So that's what you get for 5% interest rates. People with money making money, and people who don't have perfect credit pay 18% on a car loan. You know, you can do this for so long before somebody goes, you know what? How about we get Bitcoin, Ski Mask Dog, Pengu, Bonk, whatever. How about we just go do something else? Because this we're not doing anymore. And that's the way Twitter is these days, right? There's an issue. You get two big people. One person says the wrong thing. A whole bunch of other people counter it. It winds up on the orange man's desk. Another tweet comes out, and that's the way it works these days. That's how fast it's going to move. That's why when you're thinking about one dip, or when this market lulls you to sleep, right, over the holiday trade, yeah, don't go to sleep on this market. So Powell and friends lost $215 billion. Interesting graph. Okay. Meaning their rate hike cycle, when they print money, they buy bonds. So their rate hike cycle wiped them out. It's the same thing with the ECB. You have central banks that theoretically can be upside down. Really. I mean, you could have treasuries in some countries having to bail out central banks, which is why, we'll go over it later, which is why the Fed is cutting rates, but people are still dumping treasuries, causing interest rates to actually rise. So the Fed cut rates, and a mortgage is more than when they started cutting rates. That's a reflection of what people think about government securities. Now, the Department of Government Efficiency could change all of that with massive spending cuts if they could shut up about this stuff that they just put their foot in their mouth on. Now, the deflation alarmists are wrong. So one of the big arguments against Bitcoin is that money supply is falling. That's because rates are too high. But the short-lived drop in money supply was countered by money coming out of other parts of the Fed. There's more inflation on the way, and the orange man is being handed a serious bag. All right. So money is still out there. And even if it wasn't, rates are still too high. They're just too high, right? The median price of a new home is up 20% in 4 years, while the mortgage interest rate has doubled to quadrupled depending on the market. Okay. Median price of a house. So if a house is 450,000 and a Bitcoin is 95,000, which one should you do? Seems pretty straightforward to me. Initial unemployment claims are flat. Okay. Increasingly seems that unemployment is growing, not because of mass layoffs, but those losing jobs can't find new work because continuing claims are above 1.9 million. Okay, so yes, you do not have massive layoffs, but there hasn't been any job creation in this economy, which I've said, for a very long time. So add this up. A home price is not affordable. What's a Gen Z investor going to do? People who can't find full-time jobs, what are they going to do with money they can scrape together from their part-time job? How are they going to figure out how to make it? And so on and so on and so on. All roads lead to crypto. It does. Okay. Tech companies cutting workers. Okay. Now, we don't have to ask. We could go into what this is about, but I don't think we have to. Okay. These guys, they're about themselves. So think about this for just 1 second. Let's go back to Michael Saylor, right? Everyone's like, oh, Michael Saylor, he's irresponsible. He's a bad guy. How many people has Michael Saylor laid off? Of course, he's got a little itty bitty software company. But everyone's like, oh, the Magnificent Seven. Oh, Web 2. Yeah, okay. So you bought no Bitcoin and fired 100,000 people. Thank you for contributing to society. Manufacturing has had a terrible one for 2 years and is stuck in the doldrums. No. Bitcoin and manufacturing are not connected. However, when you put all this on one person's desk, we need to jumpstart everything. So if we don't have industries growing, create new industries. That would be AI and blockchain per everything that you've been told. This is unbelievable. Housing payments as a median of income, as a percentage of your income. 40%, right? This is not sustainable. Okay. Now, maybe the housing market doesn't adjust. You know, maybe the adjustments that happen aren't the adjustments that happened in the past, right? So this was a huge housing bubble that burst and everything went lower. Could that happen again? Maybe. Or we just adjust the currency via the crypto market. Seriously. Like Ray Dalio and all these guys that write all these big, thick books about, oh my God, here we go again. And I've done all this. I've done it. I'm a legacy guy. I go, oh, you know, I've been through all these debacles. I get it. It's all very similar, all very, you know, witty to sit around and say, oh, yeah, it's going to blow up. That actually, it might not. What may happen is you may have the reverse. You may have a banana in crypto that no one expects because everybody thinks everyone in crypto is stupid, right? Like I know meme coins don't give us the best forward-facing image. And I know Michael Saylor comes off as a wild man. The simple fact of the matter is the macro brains know if they can't make the adjustment in the legacy market, they're going to make it in crypto. And this is the why are we here literally on steroids. Some believe Bitcoin is closer to $1 million than it thinks. Throughout its history, Bitcoin has multiplied its value by 10, 8 different times. So no one thinks you can get a 10x in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a digital asset worth $1 trillion. Bitcoin can't go parabolic. NVIDIA went parabolic. Why can't it happen to Bitcoin? Why can't it happen to Ethereum? It so can, right? And okay, you know, and here we are at the end of the year, you know, it goes up, it goes down. I wanted the Santa rally. I didn't get it. Everyone wanted it. That was the problem. Who cares? Like go to a New Year's Eve party and go, you know what? I think Bitcoin's going to 10x. I think it's going to 10x sooner than anything else. And if Bitcoin 10x is, well, what's going to happen to the rest of the market? That means the rest of the market is going to 50x because a 10x in Bitcoin ignites Web3. So you can talk about a $1 million price target in Bitcoin and people would go, yeah, I believe that. But if you went up to people and said Bitcoin's going to 10x, what would they say? They would probably say you're crazy. You know what? You want to trade with the people who people think are crazy. The first time in history, the Fed has cut rates 100 basis points And the interest rate on the 10-year government bond went up 100 basis points. So you're probably like, Bill, what does that mean? That means the Fed cut short-term interest rates, and bond traders looked at the Fed and the fiscal policy, and they said, we don't want U.S. bonds anymore. And when you sell bonds, interest rates rise. So everybody lost confidence in treasuries. Everybody thinks that the orange man coming in is going to be super inflationary. You know, he's going to wake up manufacturing. He's going to want domestic workers hired, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Well, that's what's priced in. They're not taking into account what they need to do with government spending, because the guy that the orange man hired who used to work for Soros, this is on the front of the pile. This is the top of the pile. This is chart number 1. Slide 1, day 1. Yo, we got to do something about this bond market. The Fed cut rates, and now people can't get mortgages. They can get them, but they're paying more than they were 6 months ago. That's insane. That can't happen. I mean, that is a recipe for some kind of problem. So they have to address this, right? Bitcoin QE, cuts in government spending. They've told you they're doing it. They have to do it. If they don't do it, I mean, they're going to do it one way or the other. They're either going to do it in a happy way, or they're going to do it after things go crazy. Crazy may happen anyway, but I think these guys are going to want to do it out of the gate because they're just not stupid. U.S. mortgage rates rise for the second week. Why are we here? Okay. Publicly traded company purchased $217 billion worth of Bitcoin. Nobody even knows who they are. Okay. Michael Saylor is the best investor of 2024, according to a venture capitalist. Keep in mind, venture capitalists, they like to pump it. A lot of venture capitalists in charge of the orange man's new administration. BlackRock versus MicroStrategy. Combined, they own almost $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin, if I'm getting that correct. Or 996,000 Bitcoin, if I followed. Sorry. Good luck racing these guys, because they're eventually going to create a price eruption. You just can't indefinitely drain this out and then have Uncle Sugar become a net buyer and have price not explode. And trust me, they're going to want fireworks for the inauguration. So whatever's happening now, it's a nice way of saying it's just consolidation. Okay, MicroStrategy going after more Bitcoin after joining the NASDAQ 100. Okay, Saylor floats framework for $81 trillion reserve plan. He's already been told. He's already been told. And you know what? Elon and Vivek putting their foot in their mouth over this thing about foreign tech workers. You know, you could have Mike sitting next to the president next. This could happen. Can you imagine? You imagine Saylor standing next to the orange man? That's all that has to happen. Or the orange man switches to an orange tie. Social sentiment on Bitcoin falls to a yearly low. No one interested. More pain likely. Okay. So we will go over some charts. Okay. But it seems like everyone has gotten kind of down. No need to get down at all. Okay. How big of a dip can we expect? Dude, I don't know. Like, everybody gets hysterical when Bitcoin goes down 4%. So if Bitcoin goes down 4% and the rest of the market goes with it, that's a crash. When really it's not. You know, on a volatility adjusted basis, it's normal. So in order for a dip to be big, it has to be bigger than 10%. Any portfolio needs to be able to gladly welcome a 10% correction. Banks 9/11. Merry Christmas, sir. Merry Christmas. Okay. Pengu crossing the divide between phygital. I call it phygital, physical and digital. Yeah, man. You know, like I said, next year, watch out for Web3. Watch out for the new hot American layer ones like Algorand, HBAR, XRP. You know, those guys would be out of their mind if they didn't have catalysts ready by the time the orange man took his hand off the Bible. I mean, I know people are going to try to do sell the fact. They're doing sell the fact now. Everything is sell the fact. Everything is about the end of the cycle. It's unbelievable, right? Everybody wants to sell. Everybody wants to know when they should get out. Every time it goes down, here's the good one. Every time it goes down, everyone goes, I should have sold. No, you shouldn't have. No, you shouldn't have. You need to pay bills, you sell. It goes wildly beyond the price target of yours. Okay, maybe you take some. But, you don't get off the train just because it went down. Like, this is how you know it's early bull market, right? It's late bull market when everyone goes, well, it went down and I don't care because I know it's coming back. That's scary. But it's like, everyone's like, oh God, I can't believe I didn't sell. Stop it. Stop it. I mean, is that what Michael Saylor's doing? You don't know what George Soros did in 1985. Most people don't, but you can see what Michael Saylor's doing because he knows, right? He knows that, when these guys, when they trade trends, right? Trends always last longer than you think. They always last longer than you think, right? All right, let's go to PowerPoint. Let's examine the very mixed picture that we have and what we're going to do about it. Okay, so total two is total crypto market cap without Bitcoin, meaning ETH, Solana, XRP, and friends. Now, what you're going to see is that total two has a lot of really good support around 1.2 trillion. So total two shot up and then it came back down to like the January high. And now we all just might sit here, right? We might build the base on top of this area for, I don't know, a week, 5 days, 6 days. I mean, if they sell it, they're selling it right into support. That's like the whole market. Total two, almost. Now, total three, interestingly, hit resistance at 1 trillion. Now, that's a big deal, right? This is a psychological number. Like, first it was like, oh my God, 100K Bitcoin. I was like, yeah, who cares? Everyone was looking at that. But, $1 trillion for Web3, yeah, that's a big deal. I think it is. There's Fibonacci circle resistance here. They're still trying to take out the 2021 high, which is, again, interesting, right? So on one hand, it's a real number. Yeah, it's a 5-wave. Yeah, it's a reason for altcoins to, pause, maybe. But what happens when Web3 is worth more than $1 trillion and that hits the Wall Street Journal? Like, what's more important? Worrying about this down here or worrying about what happens when there's nobody home between 1 and 2 trillion by April? In other words, imagine altcoin market cap. This is like not Bitcoin, not ETH. Altcoin market cap going up by $1 trillion by April. Now, I realize that that's a lot of exciting FOMO, and there was a lot of exciting FOMO after the election, and this is disappointing, particularly if you just got here. But total altcoin market cap can go up by $1 trillion upon breaking out. Now, if that's true, and we know that, then it's going to be choppy and they're going to make it difficult, right? Like, what are one way they make it difficult in bull markets? Well, they lull you to sleep. That was over here. That was winter, summer 2023, when I couldn't get One live stream a week put together. That's how little action there was. Now we have up only. There's two ways to get you out. One, they can whip you, right? They can, ramp it and then drop it on your head. And then they can fake you out. They can go up 4%. Oh, it's going to the moon. Oh, down 4%. Oh, it's going to go much lower. I don't have to buy it now. Back up 4%, right? They can just do it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you don't want to play anymore. Or you're like, yeah, this is going to go up later, not now. And then boom, it goes. Just remember, what can you do? What can you accumulate like Michael Saylor so that when altcoin market cap goes from 1 trillion to 2 trillion, you're on it? Okay. Now this is good if you're bullish. It may not be good if you're levered long. I am not in favor of leverage at this time. And here's why. On a lot of longer term charts, prices have made new highs. Like this is a 3-day chart. So each bar is 3 days. Bitcoin has made, dramatic new highs above where it was in March. But, a lot of oscillators, a lot of RSIs and stochastics and things, they've had divergences. Like even over here, you've made these series of new highs, but the oscillator has been going the other way. Plus you have extreme FOMO, right? So there's evidence on long-term charts that, you could have a flush. There's a lot of support, but you could wash this out again. You most certainly could. All right. And if you did, people might lose their mind. Now, what's losing their mind mean? It might mean they're discouraged and afraid. There's absolutely no way, in my opinion, even if the market goes down, that you should get discouraged or afraid about crypto. Because crypto is prosperity. Like I'm flipping the narrative. Like it's almost like I'm burying why are we here tonight, right? We know why we're here, right? Rates, growth, banks, Fed, fiscal policy. It's just none of it works, right? And what do we got going for us? Well, we got Michael Saylor. We got the Orange Man, right? We got these guys that want to go full on pro crypto and do Web3 to help grow our way out. Now we know why we need to do that. We know rates are too high. We know that they've screwed up everything, but let's start thinking about abundance. I know this is like the self-help video nearing the end of 2024, right? No, as if we say, oh my God, I'm 20x levered. What am I going to do if it goes down? How about we say, wow, I really hope these guys are dumb enough to take this down 5%. Because you know what they could do? They could take equities down. Because equities are, I don't know, man. That's just the outer limits of common sense. They've been past the outer limits of common sense for a while. Now, equities may not go down like catastrophically, but I can see a lot of people rotating out of equities and into other instruments like crypto, right? Fund managers may go, you know what? We're going to allocate money somewhere else and we're going to dump all these other stocks because it's been up only all year. So let's rotate. Now, if Bitcoin goes down, okay, let it go down. ETH weekly. So same thing. You have this like negative divergence, and maybe it's already happened, or maybe they just sit and chop around. 4 or 5 days of chopping around would be extremely bullish, particularly since ETH weekly is coming back to like a balance zone. Altcoins are a buy on a dip. They are, right? Just because there's resistance at 1 trillion, you want to be asking yourself every time they go down, I got to grab them because once they break as a group through 1 trillion, what's going to stop them? What's going to stop Solana? What's going to stop XRP? There's the narratives in Total 3 in altcoins are just incredible. Everyone's talking about $1 million Bitcoin. Well, like I said, change the narrative. If ETH goes down because of this divergence and stops and starts going up again, that could be incredibly powerful. And you wouldn't want to get caught up in whatever is happening over like a 4 or 5 day period, particularly over a holiday. Like, don't get me wrong, folks. I was with you. Like when this thing went sour, you know, my little altcoin went the wrong way. You know, I got messed up. I was like, wow, what's up with this? But then I took 2 days off. I collected myself. I was like, okay, any downside that they give you, any downside in equities, any kind of freak out that happens, that's a golden opportunity, right? You want to make sure that you can be there for that, right? Especially if it's nasty, right? This is almost like, it's like visualization. Like imagine the market down a lot on a scary catalyst and you just going, oh yeah, I'm ready for this. And you just take it from them. You just take it from them. And whatever you do, don't let them take it from you because, you know, you did something with leverage in a quieter holiday market that's easy for the big boys to push around. If Michael Saylor's coming in to buy 10 billion, they're going to take whatever last chances they can to push the market down to run stops. Okay. Cat Entertainment is loading up on render. Okay. Brandon is asking, could we see 80K-ish in January before it goes to the moon? Well, let's go to live TA, talk about these things. Okay, so Bitcoin. Okay, there's an important weekly moving average at 84K. That's theoretically possible. What's more likely is this moving average just catches up with price possibly going sideways. That's what I think. In other words, it's like you get 2 quiet weeks and the moving average catches up. That's one idea. Okay. I think when you go to Solana, like in a way, Solana hasn't participated in the post-election rally. And this DeMark work is not particularly good looking. That actually, it doesn't look terrible, but it's not like, oh, wow, can't wait to do this. The only thing about this that's interesting is the optics, right? The price is basically, you know, it's come back down again, right? It's actually sitting on the summer high. Like, so this goes back to the question about Bitcoin in the 80s. It's like, wow, are we going to have Solana below where it was in the summer so we can have Bitcoin at 80? I don't know, man. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, this is the Bitcoin ETF on a weekly basis. So obviously you had quite the reversal here, right? Quite the reversal week. A lot of FOMO. Okay. It's also the ideal place for kind of the failed uptrend. So you have to take it seriously. That said, when you have a reversal like this, what's required to validate it is follow through. Okay. In other words, like this reversal here, where you go down and come all the way back, and then what happens the next day? It gaps up and it's gone, right? Like that's a reversal. This looks like a reversal, but you know, it has to have follow through. You know, someone has to walk in tomorrow or Monday and hit it again. And if no one hits it, it's not a reversal. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to get the Bitcoin ETF at 47. Guess that's like getting Bitcoin at 84. And I think the only way you're going to see that is if something happens in stocks, to be honest. So let's look at stocks. Okay, this is SPY. I guess you would have to see S&P. This is the S&P ETF. You'd have to see S&P fail at resistance and do something terrible. But, on a monthly basis, that's pretty toppy. That's the 13 top last month in November. So to me, I don't know, man. That's textbook DeMark, by the way. That's textbook, where you just get this trend, you get a pause, and then it stops and continues right here. So it's like every which way you could think of, this is a top in stocks. Like there's nothing to buy but Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETFs, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin miners, XRP. Like, I don't know, man. I can't express that strongly enough. Okay, speaking of like frustrating and wearing you out, if anybody ever wanted to know what like a 2-wave was, like everyone's like, oh, I'm so interested in Elliott Wave. All right. Well, in Elliott Wave, the prelude to a big move is a mess like this, right? So you think it's going to go up, it doesn't. Everyone wants to get on the train, but they keep running the stops, and they run the stops. Then they don't rally it. They don't run the stops, but they don't rally. It's sitting there. Looks awful, doesn't it? This is what they do. This is what charts look like when something just sort of sits like this. Okay, it frustrates everyone. Now, of course, if it does break down, okay, we know we have to wait. But if it doesn't, like, look at how many times they're trying to crack it down here, right? Sometimes with charts, it's not automatic like Luxago. You actually kind of have to read it. So if they make multiple attempts to like push the bulls out and it doesn't work, okay, well, then Ski Dog Nation is going to push back. Okay. And that's when this thing can just sort of take off. You got to really watch out for people wanting to create their own money. Like I have come full circle on this kind of stuff. Yes, I know that big holders sold a lot to retail with the centralized exchange listings. But when you go through that whole list of economics that I went through, are we seriously going to sit around and judge people if they want to try to create their own money? Like, I'm changing my mind on this. Like, okay, pumped out funds out of control, a lot of excess, a lot of stupid things happening. Okay. But this year, when you look at the year in review, everyone's going to be like, well, it was the year of meme coins. It was the year that crypto went crazy banana pants. No, it was the year when Gen Z tried to make its own money. They tried to make their own money. Now, algos helped. Hedge funds got involved. You got huge valuations, centralized exchange listings. But what started it? People wanted to make their own money. They wanted to make their own forms of money. Now, they did it inside of a casino, but the gold rush was like a giant casino, right? New York and Chicago, I don't know, let's just say alternative investment groups back in the 60s were racing each other to build up Las Vegas. Is this different? Well, you can have more excess because it's digital and it's faster, but can you blame people? That's why everyone's like, oh my God, is the market going down? Maybe. How long is it going to stay down? Not long. Not long at all. Okay, so let's sum this up. Have a happy holidays, for goodness sake. Okay? Don't let crypto or worrying about anything that's not human or real bother you at the holidays, right? Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah. Have a Happy New Year, even if the market is down or your positions are down. Why are you here? One word. You're here for abundance. Who wants you to be abundant? You ready for this? A higher power. That's right. So all these guys that are talking all this negative stuff about all the stuff in legacy that's a problem, you know what the solution to that is? Abundance. How do you get abundance? Crypto, right? So let's keep the happy in happy holidays. I'll see you tomorrow.